Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. We are coming off the post Night of Champions edition of Raw as the road to Hell in the Cell and the month of Brocktober begins. Got your questions here from twitter.com/AaronRift. Let's get started with the first one today from Seneca Hampton. Hey Aaron, love the show. My question is, since real Kurt Angle hasn't signed back with Impact Wrestling, do you see a WWE reunion? I think we will see Kurt Angle in a WWE ring one day in some capacity. I'm not sure about the idea of him wrestling again. Even one match, that will depend on his health and if WWE clears him and they feel that it is safe for him to get in the ring for one match. I do not see him coming back and wrestling full-time, and even part-time, that's a big question mark. And especially now with Sting's injury, I think WWE is going to be even more cautious with bringing in older talent and having them work matches. There's just a lot of concern about Kurt Angle's health in a WWE ring, but I do see him getting involved with WWE one day in some capacity, whether it's the Hall of Fame or having a Legends deal or both. I do see Kurt Angle one day appearing on WWE television again in some fashion. And this one comes from Kim Chong. Despite WWE's disinterest in re-signing Kurt Angle, do you see any use for him if signed under a non-performing Legends contract? Absolutely. There is a lot that Kurt Angle could offer to the WWE company. Kurt Angle could help train some of the younger talents. There's so many different ways that Kurt Angle could be helpful, and also in the role of a goodwill ambassador, similar to what Hulk Hogan was doing before he got fired. Kurt Angle could do public appearances and perhaps be on WWE Network specials. There's a lot of things that Kurt Angle could do if he came back to WWE without actually having to get in the ring. So I could definitely see him having a Legends deal at some point. And I got this one from MRYUKK. Does Kurt Angle or any former star have to be signed with WWE to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Well, the thing is, WWE will not want to induct someone into the Hall of Fame when that person is already working for another company. There was one exception, and that was Ric Flair when they inducted the Four Horsemen into the Hall of Fame. You know, you had to have Ric Flair as part of the Four Horsemen going into the Hall of Fame. There was no other way around it. It would have been the huge elephant in the room if he was not there. So WWE worked out a deal with TNA, and they had a TNA star appear at the Hall of Fame. But for the most part, WWE does not want to have somebody who is contracted to another company appearing on their television show. And that is just the way it is. And I think it's unlikely that somebody would be inducted while they're working for another company, even though TNA is not really on the radar at this point. WWE, I think, will just stick to their policy that they've had for several years now. As far as Kurt Angle going into the Hall of Fame, once he's done with TNA, I think that is a good indication that WWE will induct him in the near future, because he will no longer have ties to a rival company. And yes, TNA is still a rival company, even if they're not at the level that they were once at. Alright, this one comes from @RickyLawson. Hey Aaron, in your opinion, which heel run was better? The Rock in 2003 or Shawn Michaels in 2005? That is a tough question to answer. I love The Rock doing the Hollywood gimmick, and as a heel, I mean, he was just tremendous. When he came out and did the Rock concert and mocked Sacramento, that was one of the most epic heel promos of all time. When he talked about the Lakers beating the Kings, the crowd just erupted in the loudest boos you'll ever hear. It was amazing. But then again, Shawn Michaels in 2005, when he super kicked Hulk Hogan and did the parody of Hogan with the Larry King live setup. Man, that is just such a hard call. That's like comparing pizza to hamburgers. I mean, which one do you go with, or chocolate or vanilla? I mean, it's really difficult to say. I think I would give the edge to Shawn Michaels just because he was brilliant with everything he did. I mean, The Rock was too. But I think about that Montreal segment when he came out and they played Bret Hart's music. I mean, it's hard to say which got a bigger heel reaction. I mean, I really can't say. I think I give the slight edge to Shawn Michaels just because I think The Rock could have been a better heel during the feud with Goldberg, and WWE kind of dropped the ball with that. With Shawn Michaels, his whole feud with Hogan, Shawn Michaels just put out one tremendous performance after another. So I would give the slight edge to Michaels, but it's very close. All right, this one comes from Aubrey Wilson. Do you think NXT is at its peak or will slowly start to lose momentum? I think NXT is still on the rise. It doesn't feel like they have peaked. There's more WWE can do with NXT, and they continue to expand the brand. They're doing the UK tour, and they're going to have more specials in the future. I can see NXT perhaps eventually becoming a rival brand. It could become an equal brand to Raw and SmackDown if WWE ever decided to do a brand extension again. But maybe WWE doesn't want to do that. If that's the case, if WWE wants to keep NXT as a developmental brand, at some point I think NXT will hit a ceiling, and at that point it will have reached its peak and it won't be able to grow any further. But right now it continues to grow, and it looks like there's no end in progress unless WWE decides to put a stop to it because they want to keep NXT as a developmental brand rather than an equal brand to Raw or SmackDown. But if there's money to be made, one would think WWE will keep going with it. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next year or two if WWE decides to stop pushing their own brand because they want to keep a developmental brand, and you know, they risk losing money by making it an equal brand to Raw or SmackDown. It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle it, but I could definitely see NXT growing from this point. All right, this one comes from Mark. Do you think it would make sense for NXT to invade WWE and have a feud with them Nexus style? Do you think it will ever happen? Well, going back to the previous question, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, NXT could very well become an equal brand, and they could do some sort of invasion where the NXT brand wants to take over, and it's a new era in the world of WWE, and NXT wants to change the game, and you have maybe Triple H running NXT, and then you have Vince and Stephanie trying to hold on to the past of the way they do business, and you can have this clash between WWE and NXT. You could take kind of what's going on in real life where you know, Raw and SmackDown, it's the same thing we've been seeing for over a decade now. They haven't really evolved the product, and NXT is something completely new and refreshing, and you could take real life and turn it into a storyline. So this is definitely a possibility, but going back to the previous question, it's all going to depend on WWE and if they want to push NXT that far. They may want to just keep NXT as strictly a developmental league, in which case I doubt that they would do something like this, or build up NXT to become its own equal brand to Raw or SmackDown. So time will tell. One would think WWE will do what's best for business, as they say, but who knows? I mean, it's really hard to say right now what's going to happen a year or two down the line. All right, this next one comes from John. Hey Aaron, do you think WWE is going too far naming tag teams and groups kindergarten names, like Team Bad, that I cannot stand hearing? I think that the idea behind Team Bad was to pay tribute to Michael Jackson. I think that that was the reason why they came up with that name. They probably had to just come up with something on the spur of the moment. It wasn't something that was well thought out. You know, WWE probably just decided, all right, it's time to bring up the NXT Divas. We're going to do this Divas Revolution storyline, and they just come up with a name real quick. What's funny is the whole story about the submission sorority that Paige apparently warned WWE about the name, and they went with it anyways. So I mean, that right there just goes to show that there's not much thought process or research done, or thinking about the names, and if somebody else is using the name, or if the name is controversial, you know, WWE just comes up with something, and then if it doesn't work out, then they have to make changes. So it's pretty funny that you know, they had issues with the names. All right, last question here today from Real Scream 88. Would you agree that the Bellas don't get enough credit for how much they've improved their in-ring work? Well, here's the thing about the Bellas or any performers in WWE. If you are given the opportunities that the Bellas have been given, one would think that anybody could improve. I mean, it would be difficult to get all these chances and all these opportunities to improve, and there's no improvement made. I mean, you would have to be really bad for there to be no progress made. So, of course, the Bellas are going to improve. If they're on television every week, if they're given high-profile roles, and they're given every opportunity to succeed, there's going to be some sort of improvement, of course. And some would argue that they went from being very, very, very bad to just very bad. And that right there is an improvement. So yeah, the Bellas have improved. They're not terrible, but they're not exactly lighting the world on fire. And I think it's safe to say that there are more talented performers in WWE and NXT. And fans are very vocal about that. They want the more talented women to get pushed. So that is what it comes down to. So yeah, I mean, I give Bellas credit for improving, but just about anybody in their position could improve. And that includes Eva Marie, that includes all the other divas that are on the WWE and NXT rosters. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend on Twitter, Facebook, any social media site you frequent. Have them check out No DQ&A video. That's the best way you can show your support, by sharing this video with friends. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Sting's condition and matches for WWE Hell in a Cell. There's already rumored matches out there. NoDQ.com is your source for all that. And I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A video.